Oh shit. Here we go again.
The show is called Love is Blind. And obviously, if you're a person of television or Netflix, you know what it is. If you're on social media, you know what it is because it's everywhere. And the premise of Love is Blind, if you don't know, is you are a group of men and a group of women, and it's like a blind dating show. So you go into this facility, you can't see the other people, but you date these partners for a week, right? You go on dates with all of them, blind dates, but they're in these little section spots called pods, so they can get like real intimate with their conversations. It's closed off. And then after your little date, you go on to the next person, so on and so forth. And it's like a drawn out process. So it's a selection process. You basically, finalize, who your people are. And then at the end, you propose to the person and you get engaged to this person. So essentially it's like you're going in with the mindset that you're going to leave with your husband or wife. And man, it's television.
That part, there's like three main segments. Like you have the pods, where you're getting to know everybody. Then they go on like a honeymoon stage or something like that. Where they all go on vacation and stuff together, and they kind of are seeing how it's going to go. And then you have like the marriage segment where they decide if they're going to get married or not. And so really the most important part to me, and the whole crux of the show, is that it's blind. It's like you said, you're not allowed to see that person, so you can't judge them on their physical appearance. You can only judge them on how they present themselves. Like how they talk. The communication, I guess. And so, I enjoy the show. I do, but like that first segment, it's really hard for me to like really buy into it because it's like a 2-week span. You go on, like you said, you go on multiple dates, and you're supposed to find your wife or your husband. You're supposed to fall in love with somebody in the span of 2 weeks. And
Ladies and gentlemen, let me start off by putting my phone on Do Not Disturb because there's not going to be any notifications coming in on my phone while we're putting in effort into an episode. We know that there's not much to talk about. Probably going to be our worst episode. I'm just kidding. But
we'll find something to talk about.
Yeah, we got enough on the back burner that we can burn off sometime, give you guys a little bit of entertainment. Maybe just a check-in. We'll start off with that. What have you been doing since the last episode? Anything interesting? Gotten into anything?
I've been mourning the loss of NFL football. I'm grieving right now. I'm trying to process, how do we move on? It's a yearly thing, it's like seasonal depression. But, yeah, man, it just not much. I went and took the work keys test last week. Been putting in applications here and there, just, filling it out and seeing what's out there for me, trying to see what's next for the next chapter in my life. And today was my daughter's birthday. She turns 3 today, so we've been celebrating with her all day. And yeah, she's been hype about it all day. We got her a cake. We let her open 2 of her gifts. We made her favorite meal, tacos.
Nice.
The grandparents came over and saw her. So it's been a good day. Pretty good week, just hanging out, watching Netflix, just enjoying the time off that I've got right now. So what about you? I know you went out to Arizona and saw some of Kayla's family. So tell me, how was that?
That was a good time. Flew out to Phoenix straight from Cincinnati and then drove 2 hours south to Tucson. And man, that weather is unbelievable.
I'm sure it's a stark difference from where we live.
We landed, they were saying that it was snowing in Ohio, and it was I mean, even when we got out the airplane, it was like 65 degrees and it was 1 o'clock in the morning. So it was really nice. We had a good time. We went out and did some adventuring. We went to a place called Bisbee, Arizona, which is like 15 minutes from the border of Mexico. And it's like in between two hills or two mountains, like down.
So it's like a valley kind of.
Yeah, it's like a little valley spot, and it's real pretty. You know, it's giant red rock mountains. It was gorgeous. And then we drove up into it's called Lemon Mountain. Drove up this mountain for an hour to 9,000 foot peak. You just see everything. It was.
I'm sure the air was really crisp up there, wasn't it?
Man, felt good. It was nice. Get outside, ate some green chili burritos, and had a good time.
Hell yeah!
Yeah,
good old fashioned Mexican food.
Yeah, I would have never left if I had the choice. But obviously, you got to go back to work. Which that travel day, let me riff on. Just traveling in general fucking sucks. All right. We had to catch it was an 8 a.m. flight, so me and Kayla had the bright idea. We're not going to be able to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and drive there. So we're, an hour, 2 hour early. We're like, we'll just leave at midnight. We'll drive up to Phoenix at midnight. We drove up there midnight. We're like, all right, let's hit the casino, kill a little bit of time. We were in there for 30 minutes before we were like, we're going to run out of money. So we go to the airport and we sit there for, 4 or 5 hours, try and catch some sleep. I'm laying on the airport floor, and then, 3-hour flight. The flight gets delayed as we're on the airplane because our pilot gets into a vehicle accident or has a vehicle malfunction on the way to the airport. So we're all sitting in the airport. It's crammed. I'm in the 29th row. Thankfully, the person that was supposed to sit between me and Kayla didn't show up.
So you were actually on the plane?
Yeah, we were sitting on the airplane.
Okay.
They were like, we apologize. We're going to be leaving about 45 minutes because your captain had a vehicle incident.
Damn, like, son.
God damn. So I'm already exhausted, and it's just like 3 hours back plus, 3-hour time difference, then a 2-hour drive from Cincinnati, and it's like, damn.
Yeah, I'm sure you were exhausted by the time you got back.
Yeah, once we got back, we ate a meal, and then she laid down in bed, and I was like, I'll play video games so I don't fall asleep at 6 p.m. And then I laid down beside her and slept till 7 o'clock the next morning.
Hey, it happens, man. And being on the road, I mean, it is awful. And like, honestly, I've been lucky with, the little bit of traveling that I have done. I've flown to Vegas. I've flown to Florida 2 or 3 times. So I never had like a, knock on wood, I've never had like a flight get delayed or canceled or had like a layover or anything. But, yeah, like just what are you supposed to do hanging out in the airport for fucking 4 hours? I mean, it's just, I mean, all you can do, you can either sleep or you can go and spend money. That's about all there is to do. And, you can only sleep so much. So eventually you start wandering around. You're like, I need to buy this. I need to buy that. This, that, and the other. And it's like by the end of it, you've already spent $200 at the airport, So, but yeah, I'm glad y'all made it back safe. It seems like y'all had a good time. And, yeah. As far as sports go, I don't know really what we're going to talk about this week because
I know the Cats had a big win, right? Saturday.
Right, we can talk a little bit about that. Yeah. They played tonight. They play LSU. We had a big win against who was it? Auburn. Yeah, that's right. Auburn. We were a 10-point underdog. I think at tip off it was down to an 8.5-point underdog, but. Man, that's the type of basketball we have to play if we want to make a run in the tournament. It's tough, gritty, physical, play through mistakes. I think a lot of times obviously younger players get so sped up that they don't realize that, if you were to just take a half step off or maybe, slow down just a little bit and play more under control, at the end of games, it's a possession. It's a game of possessions. I mean, pretty much every sport is that way. It's a game of possessions, especially in close games. Basketball is a little bit different because it's more high pace, fast pace. But at the end of the day, it's about, scoring points down the stretch. And I feel like Kentucky really did a good job of executing. We hit our free throws. Onyaso played probably the best game of his career. I think he solidified himself as the number one big man. Reed Shepard and Rob Dillingham, both young guys, they play that's just like a love-hate relationship because like I love some of the stuff they do, but then like they'll make the worst play you've ever seen and then they'll come down the floor and then make the absolute best play you've ever seen. Yeah. And so it's just trying to get these guys to play with more consistency. Trey Mitchell's out again tonight. We were missing him last game. He's a big part of our team, but it was nice to get a win on the road, hostile environment, as an underdog. And I think it was definitely a step in the right direction, but we have to win tonight for it to mean anything,
I think that if anything, they should take that and say, this is, like you said, this is how you guys got to play and make this the havoc. I mean, that Auburn team's a pretty good team. Don't get me wrong. And you held them to 50.
Well, yes. And we kind of, Kentucky got a little bit lucky. Auburn did not shoot the ball very well. Yeah. And I think Auburn expected to, because they're a big team. I mean, they're very, very big team, physical. That's the way Bruce Pearl, that's how he builds his teams. But I thought Auburn thought that they were just going to go in there and bully us around, bully the young cats, and they were going to beat us by 10, 15 points. But we did a good job of matching their intensity, and then at some points in the game rising above and overcoming their intensity. So I think it was a big learning moment for this young team, and we have to, like I said, we have to come out, execute tonight. We're 5.5 point favorite tonight. I expect us to win by at least 8-10 points. If we can knock down our shots, Reeves, as long as he can stay on his streak that he's on, I'm confident. And I know it's kind of a roller coaster of emotions with me in Kentucky football because week to week I might be up on them, and then the next week I'm like, this team sucks, But hey, that's the way it is. I'm always going to be for the Cats, though, no matter what. And I bleed blue through and through. I might talk a lot of shit. I might criticize the team, but I'm always going to be rooting for them no matter what. So, is what it is.
I'm hoping for the absolute best right now for you guys. I want you all to have a good year. I think Cats fans are in dire crisis mode at this point. I don't know if you guys could take a first-round exit.
No, it'll be all hell will break loose in Lexington if we, like I said, if we don't make it to at least the Elite Eight, if not the Final Four, it's a busted season, man. Most talented team in basketball, in college basketball, like with hands down. I've watched Duke, I've watched North Carolina, I've watched Kansas. They don't even sniff our talent, but they execute. They have, I don't know, like a good way to put it. It's just like a better structure,
I think that's what it is.
Because, and not to beat a dead horse, but that's because those coaches are college basketball coaches. They're not NBA recruiters, and so they get more out of their players because they're coaching to win basketball games. They're not coaching to take fucking selfies at the All-Star game,
Speaking of the All-Star game.
Yeah, speaking of shit shows.
Speaking of shit shows, NBA All-Star festivities went on, and I think a total of, 17 people watched, and the entire world.
That's pushing it.
Yeah, pushing it. I know. I heard things about the dunk contest being a shit show. I mean, you got Mac McClung in there. There was one actual NBA player. I think it was Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
It's like, so instead of like just obviously, like you said, beating a dead horse. It's like, what killed the dunk contest? Because it used to be a spectacle.
It used to be one of the highlights of the All-Star weekend. And for me, and maybe I'm just a little bit biased. I don't know. I don't mean to pin it on just one thing, but to me, it seems like LeBron never having the balls to step out there, being one of the biggest, most athletic freaks in the history of sports, not just basketball, but sports. And you don't have the balls to go out there and compete in a dunk contest.
Yeah.
And I get it. I mean, hey, it's not for everybody. That's his prerogative. But if we're going to sit here and talk about LeBron as being the most influential basketball player to ever live, well, then let's examine it. What has he, he chose to opt out his whole career of the dunk contest. It was the biggest stars in the game. It was, the best dunkers. It was, Jordan did the dunk contest. It was Dominique Wilkins. It was Vince Carter. It was, Nate Robinson, which he wasn't like a big star, but he was big for the dunk contest. And then you had Dwight Howard, and you had all these guys that were marquee names, household names that were in the dunk contest. And so people were a little bit more invested because we know who we're watching, and this is not to piss on Mac McClung's parade because, the kid deserves it. He's worked his butt off to get where he's at. Back-to-back dunk contest champion. Can't take anything away from him. However, the quality of the product has gone downhill very, very quickly, especially in the last 5-6 years. And I think it just is a microcosm of the bigger problem that the NBA is facing. It's the superstars don't want to play. They don't care about winning basketball games. And again, it kind of goes back to LeBron. He never cared about getting the 1 seed, which, you can do that if you're LeBron. But if you're the Indiana Pacers, if you're the Utah Jazz, if you're, the Detroit Pistons, you have to win as many games as you can and give yourself the most advantageous draw that you can in the postseason. Yeah. But to go back to the dunk contest, it's just hard to watch. There's no household names out there, and there's one NBA player in it, and these guys, it takes them 4, 5, 6, 7 attempts to go out there and get a dunk down. Yeah. And it's and also another thing is we've seen a lot of these dunks already. We've seen, alley-oop, 360, but between the legs, everything. So there is a lot of redundancy when it comes to that. And so it's hard to be original. It's hard to get creative. But that's part of the challenge of being in the dunk contest. Yeah. So
I think NBA All-Star Weekend in general is just completely dying, and that's probably the flat line right there is that everything in the NBA All-Star Weekend is it's like repeated stuff. There's nothing new about the same year 3-point contest. There's nothing new about the dunk contest because it's all been done. So it's like there's nothing new that can happen. And then when you eliminate big player guys, and I think I also would give the unfortunate credit to LeBron for never stepping up. Basically since he was a youngster, him not doing it has just been a massive decline in the talent that wants to be a showcase for the NBA.
Right, and he kind of sets the tone, and I don't think it's all his fault. Like I said, this is not me pinning the blame solely on LeBron, but I think it plays a big part of it because most of the guys in the league right now grew up, watching LeBron, worshiping LeBron, and so they kind of are following his example. But I did like how they had Steph and Sabrina, how do you say your last name? Ionescu. Yeah. I thought that was cool. Yeah. She put up a hell of a fight. I think they should have made Steph go first. That way she knows how many she has to hit.
That would have been better.
Yeah.
truly killed it, to be honest.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, she did a hell of an effort, but you're not going to beat the GOAT, especially if he knows he only has to get 27 points to win. So I thought that was interesting. That was a good way to spice it up. The skills challenge, I didn't watch a second of that. I'm not really interested in it, to be honest. Yeah, the All-Star game, the actual All-Star game, fucking terrible. Atrocious. They should just scrap it. You shouldn't even play. These guys don't care. They're just going out there. It's literally like you got a bunch of old dudes at the Y that are they're not playing to win. They're just, they just want to get a workout in. We're just going to run down, just toss it to the wing, shoot a three, easy rebound, pass it up. Same thing on the other end. I think they shot, I can't remember what the stat was, but they shot a disgusting amount of threes, And I get it. You don't want to go out there and get hurt in an all-star game. I mean, nobody wants to see that, Nobody wants that. But I think, if you ask this guy right here, I think when it comes down to the last 6-7 minutes of the game, you should take it serious. Let's play. Let's give the fans a show, But these guys, like I said, they don't care about the fans. They don't care about the product on the court. They care about getting their money. They care about chasing Instagram models. They care about, how do I look on social media, opposed to where we're going to be come playoff time. A lot of guys just they don't care anymore. Yeah. And so I think the NBA has a real problem because, like I said, the quality of that product on the basketball court is terrible right now. It's the worst I've ever seen it. Yeah. And I've been watching NBA since Tracy McGrady, so
it's at a very, very weak point, and I mean this in no disrespect. Let me say that first. I mean this in no disrespect to women athletes in the WNBA, but when they are saying, can Caitlin Clark play in the NBA? Like, that is a headline. That is a thing that people are actually arguing about. It says what the state of the NBA is, because there is an argument there. Now, in today's NBA, she could be a run back and forth, spot up shooter. She doesn't have to ever drive. That's the state of the NBA. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, she can go down the floor and do what Klay Thompson does, just corner to corner. Bang.
Yeah, hang out around the perimeter, and, if you get an open three, knock it down.
And she probably would shoot pretty well, I bet you.
Caitlin Clark, and this is kind of an offshoot, but Caitlin Clark is the future of women's basketball. In the next 10 years, we're going to see, I feel like every girl is going to be emulating that. She's like the Steph Curry of women's basketball. Yeah. And that's no disrespect to, all the former women's greats that we've seen. But there's just something, she's different. She's built different. She's got that like Kobe fucking MJ type of mentality. I'll drop 40 on your head, right? And it's not very often that you see the consistency there, especially in the women's game. So I think it's going to be exciting to see her at the next level and playing in the highest competition. But yeah, could she play in the NBA? I mean, it's fun to entertain that idea. We got, you have to fill the airwaves with something, but come on now. Let's be honest. She's not, she might score some points, but she's not going out there getting real minutes, No. But I think that's just a hypothetical that was thrown out there on Twitter, and it just gained traction because, yeah.
She will end up being probably the best player in the WNBA. I would reckon to say in the next 2-3 years, she will come out there. Because she, like you said, she does have that killer mentality about her. You can just tell she's a dog. She don't give a fuck what you think. You can run onto the court. Like she did at Ohio State when they beat them. She's like, I'll take this fucking fan out. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. She, like I said, she's just, we haven't seen a woman's player like that before. Yeah. Or like, I haven't at least. And I don't, I'm not a huge women's basketball guy. I'll be the first to admit it. But if you want to have that conversation, I think Caitlin Clark is at the forefront.
Yeah. Lord. Well, we'll see what brings. Hopefully, basketball has a bright future. I will not be doing much tuning into any NBA at
No,
all until
no.
playoffs, as I've stated in the past. Now, as for college basketball, when it's on, I watch it, but I'll start tuning in conference
Yeah,
tournament.
it's very disappointing for me because I love basketball. I always have, even as a kid. I was just I grew up around it. My family, a lot of my aunts played. My uncle played. My granddad went to KWC, played. So I was just always loved it, and it's just saddening to see the 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 decline because if you ask me, man, back when Derrick Rose was at his peak, and you had LeBron at Miami, and you had all these other guys that actually played hard, and wanted to play night in and night out. That was it was so fun because you could tell that they wanted it, and now it's just like guys just mail it in.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. It's an unfortunate reality. I do enjoy basketball when it's good, competitive, and that is why I enjoy college basketball, March Madness. But that's enough on basketball. We'll have to get more tuned into that. There was a couple things in the NFL that we can speak on. I guess we can start off on a major move that was made and a name that was brought up, especially when the Bills lost. It was the name of Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis has moved on to Kansas City, and in his way out, he
Oh
posted.
no, I was just joking. I don't think he's not actually signed with the team.
I thought he
I'm
did.
saying no. I was like, whenever I texted you that, that was just like a hypothetical. Like I hadn't seen anything that was saying that. But what I did see was he made like an 8-minute Instagram post or something, or post on Twitter, and then at the end he listed a bunch of stats that were like how he was like a top 3 receiver in the league. And so, we know Kansas City is in the market for a wide receiver. And so I just figured that would be a pretty good fit if the money's right, because Mike Evans, Gabe Davis, T. Higgins, which T. Higgins will probably get franchise tag.
Yeah.
But no, I was just joking whenever I sent you that. I never saw anything that was like officially.
Cody Murphy got me because I thought it was official. I hadn't seen nothing, but
My bad. I thought, I thought you knew that. That
I
was my
was
bad.
out of touch with reality. I had just landed.
Yeah,
And
you were delirious.
I was very delirious. So this whole time I had thought he had been switched up. I've been staying on top of it. I've seen all the stats that he posted talking about, how great he was. But if anything, he is majorly forgetful in most parts. He was definitely a sad point in most franchise or fantasy lineups.
And he was just so inconsistent. Like he might have, in terms of fantasy points, because I had him on my Yahoo league. He might have 13 points one game, and then 2 points the next game, and then 0 points the next game, and then 15 points the next game. So it's like, uh, I feel like Buffalo just wasn't really a great fit for him because Stephon Diggs was taking so much away, so many opportunities away from him. I feel like, and so it was just hard for him to get in a groove per se. But whenever he's on fire, he's one of the best. He's one of the best receivers in the league. I mean, no
Thing is,
question.
too, if he ends up on Kansas City, he'll likely, be listed as the number one. But we all know that Rashee Rice is up and coming. He'll end up being that number one target. But to each their own. Another topic I wanted to talk about that was a headline, and I think it's because this is probably the end of the line for Jimmy Garoppolo, was this incident with, I guess, how did they list it? It was like focus. I don't even know, but it was Adderall. It was essentially Adderall. Dude popped for Adderall. So, is this the end of Jimmy G in the league? Will he play again? Do you think?
I mean, he'll get a backup spot. I think he's good enough to get a backup spot, but I don't see him ever being a day-to-day starter or game-to-game starter ever again. I mean, we've seen enough, to know what he is. He's not gonna win you a lot of games. He's not the best passer in the league. Um, But I think there's going to be some teams that look at the QB situation and, hey, we need a second string, third string guy. Let's bring him in. We know he's got some experience starting. So, but no, I think Garoppolo's days as a, week to week starter is done. I don't think he'll ever be back at that level.
Last thing I've seen that I wanted to mention on was Justin Fields has. This is the new age of tracking. Was Justin Fields has unfollowed all Chicago Bears anything and taken it all out of his bio. So I think this is a sign to say Justin Fields is done in Chicago.
Well, I think the writing's on the wall there. There's too many good quarterbacks in this draft. Hasn't really panned out for Fields. I'm not, and that's not me hating on him per se. He's shown flashes of being able to hang in this league. Like he's had very, very good games. However, it's just like we were talking about the whole Gabe Davis thing. It's just too inconsistent, and I don't think he had a good support system or structure around him to help him grow as a young quarterback. And like I said, I feel like the QB market in the draft is just too ripe for them to not get somebody and try to kind of restart and rebuild at the quarterback position. And plus, Atlanta really needs a quarterback. I think Fields would be a great fit. I know we say it pretty much every episode. But I'm really if one thing could go right for the fucking Falcons, I just hope that we can get Justin Fields or Jaden Daniels. Those are my two picks. I don't think outside of those two guys, I don't really see a great fit outside of those two names. So yeah, I think if I had to bet, I would say he's probably done in Chicago.
I agree. I hope the best for Justin Fields as an Ohio State guy. But we shall see moving forward. I guess I just seen this too. Blake Snell is working to finalize a deal with the Yankees. There's some baseball news, and Cody Bellinger is in talks with the New York Mets.
The Mets they depress me too much. I don't even really want to think about the Mets. I'd rather talk about Trevor Bauer, and is he going to get a job in the league? I think he is, if anybody is deserving of at least an opportunity, especially with what he said about he doesn't even want a salary. He just wants an incentive-based contract and let him prove himself. And so, after everything he's been through, all the time that he's missed, being blackballed out of the league over something that never even fucking happened, I think he deserves a shot somewhere. Somebody will end up giving him a shot too.
It'll happen. I don't know that it'll happen before the season starts. I think because there's so much space for media to run rampant, they'll wait till the season starts up on injury.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think it'll happen whenever the injuries start piling up for a certain team and they need to get a consistent starter. I think they'll go out and sign him.
He's putting out good tape. Just the other day, he posted. He was 93 to 96, and his pitch mix was absolutely.
And think about it. He's had 2 years now to do nothing but hone his craft and his skills. He's had no pressure on him to
For the Reds to sign him, I swear to God.
Dude, that would be the comeback story of the year, man. Honestly, if he came out and was
if we had an ace, we'd be a top 5.
And it's not like he's like a super old guy. I think he's only 33, 32.
He's still got years.
So he's still got plenty of time to return to, a Cy Young level pitcher.
God. All right. Well, enough sports. A few things I just want to fill people in on other random shit. Obviously, one. I guess we could do politics momentarily. I will say, I'm not voting Trump. I'm not voting Biden. I'm voting RFK Jr.
Yeah.
And I think the people believe that is the way, just by looking at it. I think everybody's like done. I seen a comedian today, and this is the best way I've ever seen it described. He said, I don't want to vote, but I will. But voting now feels like I'm going to a party, and the people at the party are introducing me to two people. One guy who gets way too drunk and says whatever comes to his head, and sometimes some racist shit. And
Yeah.
then the other guy is just so damn high, but the whole time he's trying to convince you that he's not high. And you look at him, you go, bro, you're stoned. And then the guy goes, hey, one of these guys is going to drive you home. It's like,
God.
I think I'd rather walk.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good analogy. Because obviously, you know, I mean, we're at a pivotal point, I think, and you know, not to get too deep or like too, you know, alarmist or anything, but I honestly, you know, I think we're at a pivotal point in our country's history. I think this election is really going to define the next 10, 20 years for our country. I think the guy, and it's not just about the president, but let's be honest, that's the most popular office, you know, that's the most popular election we have in this country. So everybody has an opinion on it, no matter who you are, you know. If you're an American, you have an opinion on it. And so, yeah, I don't think we can go back with Trump. He's made too many enemies. And it's not even that I've kind of flipped on Trump. I think he was actually pretty decent for our country, and it wasn't the best optics, you know, just like Biden. It's not the best optics, you know, I mean, but I think at the end of the day, you look at what he inherited versus where he left it, you know, it was all right. On the flip side of that, Joe Biden, I think he gets a lot of flack for, you know, being a Democrat and a lot of the gaffes that he's had publicly, you know, misspeaking, being out of sorts, you know, I mean, and it's obvious. You can tell his mental health, his mental capacity has declined rapidly. You know, this last term has really done him in. And I think, you know, his brain's pretty much mush at this point.
Yeah.
I hate to say stuff like that, but like I said, let's just be honest. And so I don't think you can go with Trump. I don't think you can go with Biden. I think if you really listen and pay attention to everybody else that's out there, I think RFK Jr. is the answer. And is he perfect? No, no candidate is. Do I agree with everything that he says or all of his policy? No. But that's not the role of the president. The role of the president is to keep this country on track and get it back to functioning. I feel like we've gotten to this place in our political landscape to where it's just so toxic. It's either you're for me or you're against me, and it's too politics and, you know, the way the government works is too nuanced to just have two options, you know. And I think and that's what really scary to me, because I said the same thing about Bernie, even though he was a diehard Democrat. I feel like RFK Jr. has kind of been shunned by the Democratic Party because of his, what do they call it? Fucking vaccine hesitancy or whatever. Yeah. And so he's kind of been pushed out by his party. And that's really what kind of worries me, is that now he doesn't have all the money. He don't have all the backers that, you know, say Gavin Newsom might have, or you know, I'm trying to think of a Republican guy, and I don't know if you've ever heard Vivek Ramaswamy, the Indian guy. He is really good too, but he's a Trump dick rider. You know, like he is like totally for Trump, staunch defender of everything that Trump does, yada yada. And to me, it kind of feels like he's setting himself up to try to run as Trump's VP. You know, so I don't know. I feel like a lot of the stuff he says, though, like I can agree with, but I don't like the way that he's kind of just gravitated towards Trump. That's what I like about RFK Jr. is he's his own guy, you know, and he's been in politics. He's been an environmental lawyer for 40 years, you know, and he knows how the system works. He comes from a very, very prestigious family. I mean, when you talk about the Kennedys, when you talk about the history of America, you have to talk about the Kennedys because they've been such an integral part of a lot of the political processes throughout the years. And so, to me, that's just the right choice. And you know, I don't know what's going to happen come November, but I don't think it's going to be Trump. And I'm really scared. And it's not going to be Biden, but I'm really scared it's not going to be RFK Jr. So we'll see what happens. There's still a lot of campaigning to do, still a lot of debating to do. I think the podcast game is really what's going to win this election for somebody is getting on as many podcasts as possible, putting yourself out there, because that's the main medium today. I feel like, back in the day it was newspapers, and then it was news TV, and then it was, Twitter, social media. Now it's podcasting. It's, having these long form discussions with not just people that agree with you, but also get on podcasts who oppose you. I feel like that is really where you're going to gain ground and get people who might be on the fence,
I'm going to send a message to RFK Jr. and I'm going to say, come on.
We'll take it.
We'll take you. I'll send him a message, and maybe that'll be the big breakthrough we've been waiting on is RFK Jr. come on. I think that would be a good conversation, to have with somebody. It's just I loved him on Joe Rogan, and I knew from then, I was like, this guy gets it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
He's not with or about anything. And it seems like the politicians don't want him or don't like him. So that tells me, like, your gut feeling should say politicians are bad. If the politicians don't like him, like, he's probably pretty good.
He's saying something, he's doing something right,
Yeah, so that's kind of where my allegiances are right now. But yeah, I'll definitely shoot him a message. I doubt I'll ever read it, but
I think the real root of the problem is people don't care about. Yeah, we want to talk about the president. We want to talk about Congress and everything, but people have lost the importance of local regional elections. Like your local magistrate, your what is the proximity to you? Like people don't realize that that's where you're going to be affected more. I mean, yeah, you're going to be affected by some of the policies that the president enacts and some of the shit a lot of the shit that Congress does. But, on a day-to-day basis, you need to know who's out there making laws for your town, your city, your county or whatever, your state, and a lot of people don't even think about it that way because they're too caught up in the social media back and forth of, oh, you're a Democrat, I hate you. You're a Republican, I hate you. And it's that's not what what America is about.
Yeah.
That's not what it was ever intended to be.
It's not what it should be about, yeah.
Yes.
It's what it's become, and I feel like it gets uglier by the day because more people are going far right and far left, and they just keep getting further and further away from what the actual problems and solutions are.
Well, what's interesting is, they're pushing apart, right? They're pushing this way, but eventually it's almost comical or satirical in the way that they've almost come full circle, and now they're like they're the same thing. If you're far left, you're a what do they call them? I don't know, but if you're far right, you're a fascist. If you're far left, you're a Nazi. But it's like the same fucking thing.
Yeah, it's like you're just a sheep and or what's it called? A sheep in wolf's or
a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah, that's what you all are. You're just out in blood, gonna kill the innocents. Lord. Yeah,
that's dark.
Yeah.
It's dark.
Yeah, we'll have to break down. Maybe next episode I'll dive deeper into the political side of things because it's gonna heat up. It's really gonna heat up this summer. I'm telling you, it's gonna be hot. Politics is going to be hot, and I think there's going to be a lot of distractions. There's going to be a lot of things that turn you away from people. There's going to be things. There's going to be a lot of things brought to light. Like look at Biden just doing the $1.2 billion for federal student loans. He waited until the last year of his presidency to make that happen. Like that's all a vote grab. And then
Yes.
it's like this whole thing with Trump is like him not being able to work in New York City because all of that. It seems like a big smear campaign, but in the same breath, it's like Trump smears himself most of the time. So
Yeah.
it's hard.
It's so convoluted
Yeah.
that you can't even like tell what's what.
Yeah.
And not to, go down too dark of an avenue, but this is, the whole Kansas City Super Bowl parade, like another fucking public mass shooting where, somebody lost their life and in a senseless, manner that should have never happened. And, there was several children that were injured in the event and something that should never happen. But I feel like the timing of it, like it's one of the biggest, public spectacles of the year, the Super Bowl parade, and we have a fucking mass shooting. And now it's like, is there nothing sacred in this country anymore? And, it sparks the discussion. We've heard it on all the airwaves, gun control, Second Amendment rights, this, that, and the other. No matter what side that you're on, it's the same fucking discussion that we've had for years and years and years now. And at the end of the day, nothing's going to happen. It's just another way to spark debate and divide people and split people up and say, oh, well, now I know who you're like. Now I know which side you're on, and I don't know. It's ridiculous because you're not going to take our guns away. Like, that's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen. And on the flip side of that, people are not. The only way to stop, and I know this is really cliche, but the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun, and I don't know that you can do anything to change that.
Nope.
Because we've already went down the path of, yes, guns are legal. You're not taking them away. We have to look at, and me and you have had this discussion, off camera, but we have to up our security efforts. There has to be better vetting. And I'm not saying that there shouldn't be some common sense gun laws there shouldn't be some common sense gun law legislation. I'm not saying that. I think that there's many ways that we can improve and help people be safe with guns. But criminals don't respect the law. Criminals they're going to find a way to get that gun no matter what. And so why are you going to disarm the good guys and leave the bad guys to just run amok?
Yep.
And so it's the same, like I said, it's the same old tired discussion that we have every time something like this happens.
Yep.
And I just don't see that. I don't think anything's going to change.
Yep. It's hard. It's a hard.
So it's almost a moot point to even talk about it.
Yeah. It's like you're at a stalemate almost. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's hard for people to engage in because, like we said, people are left, people are right, and they all have their beliefs, and nobody wants to give up on their beliefs at all and find the middle ground to where we actually get to a solution. And like we've said prior, it is, you can't take guns away. If you do, bad guys.
It'll be another civil war.
Yeah. So what do? Put our vets, the ones that are obviously looking for work, have their, looking for a reason to live. You know what I'm saying? Put them everywhere. And then put 2 or 3 of them together so they're all watching each other. It's like, it's the same. I mean, America is a battlefield. I mean, whether we like it or not, we may not be in war with another country, but we're all in war with each other, and it's an eternal war. So why not have guys that we know will be good looking after each other, taking care of each other?
Right. And
on our front.
It's got, men and women who have military experience, that have the training to know how to pull security and how to look at suspicious things and not escalate certain situations. And, I know it sounds like the answer is more guns, but maybe that's not necessarily the case. It's just more good guys with guns. I don't know. And like I said, I don't have the answers. I don't claim to. but I do think there are things that we could do, at least try to mitigate the gun violence, because it is at an all-time high. It is an epidemic, and it's something that, honestly, having kids, I'm scared for my kids to go to public school, because who knows what could happen.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to go too much further into it. It's a very, very serious discussion. I think we're sitting at 48 minutes here. Let's lighten the mood up a little here and tell me what you've been watching on Netflix.
That's what I was gonna say. Let's close her out on a light note on Netflix, and all credits, hats off to Kayla for putting me on, because I do enjoy this show. It's unfortunate that I do, because I've never been the reality TV guy, but you get a woman and this is what happens to you.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
The show is called Love is Blind, and obviously if you're a person of television or Netflix, you know what it is. If you're on social media, you know what it is, because it's everywhere. And the premise of Love is Blind, if you don't know, is you are a group of men and a group of women, and it's like a blind dating show. So you go into this facility, you can't see the other people, but you date these partners for a week, right? You go on dates with all of them, blind dates, but they're in these little section spots called pods, so they can get like real intimate with their conversations. It's closed off. And then after your little date, you go on to the next person, so on and so forth. And it's like a drawn out process. So it's a selection process. You basically, finalize, who your people are. And then at the end, you propose to the person and you get engaged to this person. So essentially it's like you're going in with the mindset that you're going to leave with your husband or wife. And man, it's television.
That part, there's like three main segments. Like you have the pods, where you're getting to know everybody. Then they go on like a honeymoon stage or something like that. Where they all go on vacation and stuff together, and they kind of are seeing how it's going to go. And then you have like the marriage segment where they decide if they're going to get married or not. And so really the most important part to me, and the whole crux of the show, is that it's blind. It's like you said, you're not allowed to see that person. So you can't judge them on their physical appearance. You can only judge them on how they present themselves, like how they talk, the communication, I guess. And so I enjoy the show. I do. But like that first segment, it's really hard for me to like really buy into it, because it's like a 2-week span. You go on, like you said, you go on multiple dates, and you're supposed to find your wife or your husband. You're supposed to fall in love with somebody in the span of 2 weeks. And it's performative to me, that part. It's very, it seems like people a lot of them are there to just get on TV, But there are some genuine connections that are made. Like I said, we watched season, I think it was 4. It might have been 5. I don't remember it. But there was like 2 or 3 couples from that season that ended up getting married and that are still together. Yeah. And so I think it is a good opportunity, but it is what you make out of it, And also, to me, it's just, I don't know that I could fall in love with somebody without being able to physically see them, and I think that's for everybody. I think most people, physical attraction is an important part of it, and so it is a very interesting social experiment. I think it's good TV. It is. That's why there's been 6 seasons. It's very good television. But it's just hard it's like I said, especially in the first segment, it's really hard for me to buy into that these people are serious about each other.
Yeah. I think I tend to believe that these people fall in love with the idea of this person.
Yeah.
And then they're all usually banking on, like, right as, they do the engagement thing and they propose in the pause, they don't see each other. The first thing, they always all bring up is like, wonder what they're gonna look like. I wonder what they're gonna look like. Like they're all waiting for that punch, and you can tell, like in this season, season 6, one girl slips and says, my friends say that I look like Megan Fox, and the guy's like, I just hit the
Yeah. I've seen the
jackpot.
meme. I've seen the meme.
I've seen the jackpot. And then he proposes to her because genuinely she is a nice girl. She's a nice woman, great girl, but she doesn't look like Megan Fox. I mean, I get the dark hair, blue eyes, but that doesn't make you Megan Fox. She looks like Olivia Nunn, which Olivia Nunn is a pretty girl too. But
that's the thing. That's the thing, though, right? Is like there's not any like fat slob nerdy motherfuckers on there. It's all attractive people, and so. That, I mean, like, so you're almost guaranteed to get a baddie no matter what, no matter who you pick, and so I don't know. It just seems, I don't know. I like the show. It's very entertaining, but I have mixed feelings about it,
I think it would be fun though too, and I told Kayla this. I think it would be fun if they just threw in like one really, and no disrespect, but they call it like the wild card, and it's like one really ugly and nerdy, like doesn't take care of himself guy, and one really nerdy, ugly, doesn't take care of himself girl, and just threw it in the mix and see how far they got. Check in on them every now and see if they've swooned anybody.
Yeah, because I mean, if they got a nice voice, and they have a good personality, then potentially you could find somebody on there. I think they should do it just to make it like a fair playing field. And this is really getting like kind of superficial because looks aren't everything, obviously. Yeah. But like I just said, they are important. But why don't you do like a different version where they're not all, like you said, they're not all hot and successful people. They're just people looking for love, like. And so you don't like be all inclusive about it. Don't just have a bunch of, sexy people on there get falling in love. I mean, that's not real life. Not everybody is a 8, 9, 10, So that would be something that would be interesting. Also, one, I don't know if you've seen this show, but I absolutely fucking love it. And I know it's really popular. Love on the Spectrum.
Yeah.
Have you seen that show?
Yeah,
dude, I love that show.
Great show.
Love that show because these people have some of them have, crippling autism, like debilitating autism. Like they're not able to live a normal life, but yet they still deserve somebody. They still deserve to fall in love and live their life, and it's just beautiful to see how they overcome the challenges of, having the social awkwardness and not being able to really connect with somebody. And it's just cool to see them because us, I say us, normal people, which, I mean, nobody's normal. Everybody's got a quirk or two about them, but we take for granted the fact of being able to go out and make friends and even just being something as simple as holding eye contact. A lot of these people on the show, you watch them and they don't make eye contact. Yeah. And it's like, we take that for granted, and being able to date people and have fun and not feel like you're so out of place, and it's so, and it's just, it makes you really appreciate, being able to do that and not having all these obstacles that you have to overcome.
Yeah. I have so much respect for those on Love on the Spectrum that really get out there, put themselves out there, and then, when things don't work for them, you can tell like they're devastated. But every time they go out there, positive energy, willing, happy, like they're determined to make it work, like it's going to happen. And I mean, it inspires me to be a better person because,
oh my God, yes,
I take so much for granted, and like I don't even know how to describe it because sometimes I'm watching and it's like, man, I love this person. Like, how do they not? And then you start seeing like the real struggles and, communication and like, oh, well, they don't like this. Well, it's never going to work. Like they don't like Batman. I can't love this person. I can't love this person. You know what I'm saying? It's like how dare they talk about that? And then they're so real. It's funny because like the one, I don't know if you remember or have seen this part, but like the Asian guy that goes on the date with the girl, and she's like, "Will you play on your computer? And he's like, "What? What? Computer?"
Yeah.
I was like, it like if you said that to anybody in real life, it's like it's done. But them two were just like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's cool. I'll go on a second date with them. Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah.
Like,
It's very like amusing to watch because and most of these people are like great people, you know, like I would be this guy, I would be this guy's best fucking friend in real life if I met him, you know, like just seems like the one guy that really loves Transformers.
yes.
He talks about, and he's got like a sword collection, and then the other guy, he goes on to like Renaissance fairs, and
Yes, that guy's awesome.
and he yeah, man. I mean, like there's, like you said, there's just such good, genuine, honest people that they don't know how to be socially deceptive, you know, which is like a gift and a curse because, you know, I mean, we all embellish certain things about ourselves. I mean, let's just be honest. But if you haven't checked it out, man, seriously, you need to watch that show, Love on the Spectrum. They have a Love on the Spectrum Australia too, which is really good. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the best shows on Netflix, honestly.
There's a lot of good television coming out on Netflix right now. Another one that Kayla put me on is The Ultimatum, which is
oh yeah, I think I've heard of that one.
Like the 5 couples go in, and one of the partners is like, "Look, you're gonna marry me, or we gotta call it quits." And then they all split up, and then they swap partners, and they go and see how it is with somebody else, you know, and then they come back and decide if they want to or not.
Yeah, I don't know. That's like an extra step up from Love Is Blind. I don't know if I could do that one.
It gets intense. It gets intense because people are like,
I think the Bachelor really ruined me on that type of TV. You know, just because most of them, I don't know how many of them have stayed together, but I know most of them end up getting divorced or not even getting married. You know.
I had never watched The Bachelor, but I did watch The Golden Bachelor with Kayla.
Oh yeah.
It was good. Like you could tell, like this man had a heart of gold, and all the women there, like yeah, of course they loved the fact that, you know, they're 60 years old, but it was something about it. Like these women and him were like, I don't want to die alone. Like truthfully, I deserve love, and it makes you look at older people in a different light. Like they still, you know, they still yearn for, like, it makes you look at your grandparents like, you know, like you're still human. You're not just grandma.
Yeah.
You have feelings, emotions, and like you yearn for love and affection and all that stuff. And it was really good. And it was really, I think he picked the wrong person, but
to each their own, you know.
Neither here nor there.
Yeah.
He picked a little dainty soft girl that was going, you know, but at that age, you know, I probably don't want a girl that's more badass than me. I don't think I can handle it at 70 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like she might put me in a fucking retirement home when she feels like it. You know, I don't know. All right, we're at an hour. You got anything else you want to touch on?
No, not really. I mean, like I said, it's kind of a slow period for us. Not a lot of sports to really talk about that you know, that are interesting to us. You know, like baseball hasn't started yet. You know, NBA not big fans of that. So we will probably have more episodes like this where it's kind of us just riffing and kind of going off the cuff a little bit, and you know, not diving so much into the analytic part of sports. And we'll probably have a lot more of non-sports discussion now because, you know, like I said, there's not a lot to talk about. Do want to start getting some guests on here. I'll probably start next week or the week after. I do have some people lined up that are interested. And yeah, so just keep tuning in, guys. We're going to keep grinding them out, you know, week by week. We're going to get it done. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all.
Let's make it happen, ladies and gentlemen. You know the gig. If you like this episode, like, comment, subscribe. Go check out all of our social medias. Link trees are in all of our bios. Help us push content. Help us blow up. one of the things that I want to do in this life is be able to give back. The only way I can do that is if people believe in me. So I know Murph wants to do the same. We want to do great things for great people who deserve it, all the people that have blessed us in our lives. So help us make a dream come true and help us help other people make their dreams come true. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys. Till next time. Peace.
Peace.